Hey, government students. We are going to go over the second part of comparing constitutions between the Ohio Constitution and the U.S. Constitution on the iCivics worksheet. So go ahead and pull that up, scroll down if you have not done so already. So the second part of this, everybody's got rights. You see, this is the part that you guys did last class. I'll scroll down right below that. So I'm just going to go over these real quick. You'll be doing your work on your own. But I'll go over it a little bit with you to help you so you know what you're doing. So everybody's got rights. The U.S. Constitution itself doesn't include many protections for individual rights. These kinds of rights are listed in the first 10 amendments of the Constitution, called the Bill of Rights, and in many of the other 27 amendments. State constitutions contain many of the same rights and guarantees, which are normally written into the state's constitution itself. So rather than having the law and government outlined in the Constitution, then listing rights at the end, like our national Constitution does, a lot of states just include the rights directly in the Constitution. So why the overlap? Before 1925, the Bill of Rights was understood to restrict only the federal government's actions, not state government actions. Each state's constitution guaranteed its citizens in certain individual rights, which were often the same as those in the Bill of Rights. Since 1925, the Supreme Court has ruled that most of the Bill of Rights applies at the state level too. States can't offer citizens fewer rights, but they can offer more, and sometimes they do. So, why list the rights in the state constitutions if they were already listed in the national constitution? Well, it was feared that if it was not listed in the state constitution, then our state governments would be able to not protect or enforce our rights. So they went ahead and put them in the state constitutions as well. But over time, the Supreme Court, for the most part, has ruled that if it's in the national constitution, it applies to everyone at all levels of government. All right, so activity D, the part you're going to be doing. Compare the following rights found in these U.S. and Ohio founding documents. Answer the questions about each comparison. So right here we have the U.S. Declaration of Independence. And then over here we have the Ohio Constitution, Article 1, Section 1. And you'll see there'll be certain words and phrases in here that are going to be pretty similar. All right, so the first part. Circle the 3 rights listed in the Declaration of Independence. So as you're reading this, there's going to be 3 things that are listed as the rights. So go ahead and underline or highlight or circle what those rights are. Part 2. Ohio's Constitution lists more than 3 inalienable rights. List them here, 1 word per right, and circle them above. So it's going to have at least 5 rights listed in here. So go ahead, underline, circle, highlight, whatever you need to do, and then write the word down here. So if it says possessing property, then write that right here, possessing. Or happiness, put that down here. And then the third one, the Ohio Constitution gets even more specific about these rights. Underline the 7 verbs that explain in detail exactly what is meant by these rights. So you're going to see words like enjoying and defending, processing, those things with the ing essentially. Underline those words. And remember, if I'm moving too fast, you're not done with this section before I move on to the next one. Just go ahead and hit pause in this video and then do that part. And then when you're done with it, go ahead and hit play back in the video again. All right, the next part. Again, we have U.S. Constitution on the left side, Ohio Constitution on the right side. They're going to be kind of similar, but we're going to compare them now. Which constitution seems more clear about why people have the right to keep and bear arms? So just circle one of them. If you think it's the Ohio Constitution, circle it. If you think it's the U.S. Constitution, circle it. And then underline the words or phrases that support your answer. So if you think it's the Ohio Constitution, circle it and then underline the part that you think helps support that. All right, next section. Again, comparing the U.S. Constitution and the Ohio Constitution. We got the U.S. over here and Ohio over here. Make sure you're reading through it all. Which Constitution does each statement apply to? So you're just going to highlight one or both of these. So which one forbids laws that would establish a preferred religion? So if you think it's the Ohio, make a little mark there. If you think it's US, mark a mark there. Or if it says it in both of them, then mark it. All right, so part 6, or question 6. The Ohio Constitution is more specific about people's rights. Find and underline words and phrases that show this. So you can see this is a lot bigger of a text than this part. So underline the parts that show how it is more specific about the rights in here. Part 7, or question 7. Find and circle the 3 things the Ohio Constitution says are essential to good government. So in here, where does it say what are essential to good government and what those are? Ohio's Constitution says, I already did that part. Does this surprise you? Do you agree? You don't have to write it down, but just think about it. All right, and then this next part here, you got 3 different documents. We got the U.S. Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Constitution, and the Ohio Constitution, Article 1, Section 2. So answer these 3 questions on those. The Ohio Constitution says all political power belongs to the people. Underline the words in the Declaration of Independence that mean the same thing. So where in here does it mean the same thing, that the power belongs to the people? Number 9, explain how the preamble excerpt from the U.S. Constitution shows that power belongs to the people. So in this little excerpt here, the U.S. Constitution, where or how does it say that the power belongs to the people? And then 10, the Ohio Constitution gives Ohioans a right. But if all political power in Ohio belongs to people of Ohio, does this same section give Ohioans responsibilities too? What do you think? Go ahead and write it in there. Do Ohioans have responsibilities as well as power? Write that in here. All right, and then the last page. We need a little change around here. Nothing stays the same, not even constitutions. Changing a constitution is a big deal. That's because a constitution is a foundation for all the other laws in the country or in a state. Because constitutions are so important, it's not easy to change them. They don't pull a constitutional amendment out of a hat. Usually there is a complicated procedure that requires many people to agree on a proposed amendment. There are 2 main steps to amending or changing most constitutions: proposing, which means suggesting an amendment, and ratifying or approving an amendment. So activity E, compare the methods for amending the U.S. Constitution with the methods for amending the Ohio Constitution. So we got U.S. Constitution over here and Ohio Constitution over here. This first part is how we propose an amendment in each of those places, and then down here is how we ratify that amendment in each of these places. So look at method 1 for proposing an amendment. Shade the fraction circles below and check the box to show which constitution requires a higher percentage of approval. So we're going to look in method 1 here and method 1 here, and you're going to see how many of these parts of the U.S. Constitution. We got 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. Or we got fifths over here: 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, or the whole thing, 5/5. And then whichever one's more shaded in, go ahead and check that of these 2. And then the very last one, explain the major differences between how the amendments to the U.S. Constitution and the Ohio Constitution are ratified. So between this part and this part, the U.S. Constitution and the Ohio Constitution. What is the main difference in them here? And then write that in there. And you guys are all done. So again, remember, if you have any problems with the speed of how I was going over it, hit pause in the video and do it on your own speed and then come back to the video as you need. I hope you guys are doing well. Miss you all. Talk to you soon.